stuck under a rock.
As you always are, James. Under a rock.
I should get the paper more.
Wondering where the paper is. Well, for this installment, I feel current events and current topics of the last century or the last 100 years, shall we say, should be something we talk about more vehemently. And to kickstart us off, I think the global banking system is a good place to start.
the hegemony.
Is it just a wide open?
It's a wide open.
Well, I'll start by saying I'm a big fan of Barack Obama and voted for him twice. And in 2008, him and the federal government had the opportunity to frickin' make banking boring again, as Liz Warren likes to say, or as she used to say. And they did not. They just gave him a bunch of cash.
Let him sort it out.
Yeah. And that was an opportunity to solve the American banking problems, I guess. I don't know.
Was that before or after the Lehman Bank collapse?
That was right after the 2008 financial crisis.
Barack
was president, and it ended in a government bailout of the banks with taxpayer money.
Iceland was the only country that actually arrested people.
I know, but Iceland was very...
And also...
involved in...
EVE Online floated their economy for like a couple weeks or something.
What does that mean?
It's a video game where you can buy ships and stuff, but like it has a large enough economy that I guess it floated there. It like somehow was like a linchpin in their financial system for like a couple days.
I just know that Iceland was one of the the countries were like extremely taking advantage of lending the mortgages and all that shit, right? And making money. They were making absurd amounts of money, like absurd comparatively to the population and the people, right? They were just getting into rolling the dice.
Interesting.
And a lot of people really got fucked.
Yeah.
But I think James bringing up the Lehman Brothers and that crash is I think a great starting point, right? To argue and think about, right, the banks, right? The bank is this system which we all rely on, and we all are beating to the drum of the banks and live how they tell us to live. But whenever they crash, right, they're like, whoa, nothing to do with us here, right? You want the whole economy to get fucked. Well, the only solution here in this situation is to get the taxpayers to fucking bump up the fucking input and
pure
and
gain.
make the difference.
Yeah, it's very little
absurd.
loss.
It's absurd.
There was also that one in Silicon Valley that was like lending out to startups or something, and that started to like go under, or like there was like a bank run 4 years ago or something, where there was some Silicon Valley bank that like just didn't have money. Suddenly, like multiple companies were like, "Hey, we need to take out money," and there's like, "We don't have that money," and like the government had to come in and be like, "We'll pay for it. It's fine.
It's all right. We'll take care of it."
I think it's interesting. I've had this idea as like a way out of money manipulation, which is, and it's not like it's a global local solution in a way where it's like if there was a type of money that was restricted to only being traded among friends and like friends of friends sort of community, where
a community bank.
Yeah, but like community, it's like a community.
Not quite.
A community like cryptocurrency. It has to have like an extra degree of monetary tracking so that money can't slosh all the way overseas to some unknown person's bank account, it's like it's always within some group of friends, sort of.
But is that
I
not-
think is the only way to like.
Is that not like a credit union?
No, it'd be like a totally different money system.
Ooh, that sneeze is gonna be loud on the.
Well, let us hear it. Don't be scared.
Sorry,
No
I,
worries.
like
I'm allergic to bullshit.
Dumb
banks
money.
are part of the system. You can't fucking be against it.
Well, now that I have my perfect break in the conversation,
Yes.
I was thinking in my mind is interest the double-edged sword, because interest we all know is evil. It's a sin, and it's what corrupts people and makes
who
people
creates the
Stop
interest?
the
Who
banks.
comes up with this fucking
But
shite?
also interest it does provide a motive for greed, albeit greedy people, to lend you their money to build a future.
Yeah.
So
So you're basically
it's
saying
a
that
double-edged sword.
the whole
because
base,
without it, there's no motive for selfish people, which we all are, to lend their money to other people.
I agree with that, and I was actually also going to say similarly. Well, so I agree with that, but I think the other thing that also exists that people complain about, but I do think is useful, can almost take over that role, which is inflation. Like, inflation is something that, like, pretty much everyone thinks is bad. But also there is an argument for inflation motivates investing money rather than hoarding money, right? Because if it's like, all right, yes, you have this hoard of money, but every year you lose 5% of it unless you invest it somewhere useful. Because basically an economy can lock up and freeze if it's like, well, there's no good opportunities right now. If I hold on to money and wait later and then invest later, that'll probably be better. And like suddenly there's no money and no one can start a new business with capital that they don't have and are borrowing because there's no one to borrow from.
To be clear, because I saw you prickle at the word interest, investment is interest. When I said it,
Interest is
by
loaning
interest
money to people and then
with
they owe
and
you
wanting
more money.
back,
Yes.
more back.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
investing.
No.
You're loaning money to people.
Investing is a gamble. Interest is more of like you have to pay it back, although there is also like a degree of gamble in that person. So I guess it's you're gambling. If you're getting interest, it's because you've loaned money to someone and you're gambling that they can pay you back. Otherwise, you bankrupt them, right? And then
But they're
investing
also-
is saying,
you're
I'm
also
going to give you
gambling that they
money
can pay
to
you
this
back
company. But it's more fixed, I guess. Like investing in a company, the upside is unlimited. A bank interest is sort of a fixed quantity unless
Okay.
it takes them forever to pay you back, and then you kind of get
I
more
think
time.
the whole premise, right, the whole idea of having the concept of when, where, how, and if or why I should spend money is dictated by a closed company that have their own interests in mind is from the ground up evil and wrong. Like,
It
The-
could
the-
be something that you could make a decent argument for it being like a government-controlled thing versus a
I think
free
that
market thing.
money is something
It's a utility, right?
It's a utility. We need it, right? And for so many years, it was representative of a finite material, right? It was gold for a long time, right? Where any money that any country had, their currency or their method of trading, whether it was the pound or the shilling in Austria or the fucking Deutschmark or the dollar, it was all representative of the gold that you have in your bank, right? And there's a certain amount of control over that, right? Because, and you know, America holds the most gold by far of all the countries. China's in second, and there's a lot of other countries that hold a lot of gold. Yeah, right. That's good. That is good. But you know, after the 70s, the standard of relating it to something was changed, right? And the whole idea of the dollar, for me, is scary. It's scary, right? Because the value of the dollar is the ability of the American economy to pay back have the capabilities to pay back its debts. That is the only thing that is the measurable, counterpart of the dollar, is that the American economy is always going to be good enough to pay its debts. That's just the fact of it, because in 71 or whenever it was,
the silver standard.
They gave up the gold standard.
Yeah.
And I think that for a long time, money for our global economy to grow, we needed to have this thing that worked behind the scenes, right? That was able to transfer money quickly, was able to make these transactions for, if I want to buy these shares, boom. If I want to buy this company, boom. If I want to buy anything that doesn't require the physical exchange of gold or money, right? There was people in the background that could make these, that could uphold these exchanges legally, legislatively, and actually be accurate, right? But we have this thing now called Bitcoin, which is an electronic transfer where they essentially cut out the middleman. Like, they do not need the banks.
It's an optimized form of banking.
It is an absolute optimized form of banking, or of interpersonal trading of transactions, right?
Yeah.
We don't need we don't need the bank there. And I think that, just like, your department store or your travel agent, the banks need to be something, they need to be relics of the past. But the fact of the matter is that the banks are so deeply intertwined in control of our governments that the likelihood of that happening, the possibility of that happening, is going to require a catastrophic revolution. Like, it is impossible to overcome that without fucking burning the place to the ground.
Well, it's just a funny little instance that I hadn't thought of, but Bitcoin, when it first comes out, you hear these examples of, oh, this bar is going to accept Bitcoin, or this they tried to roll it out in like this fun, friendly way. It's like, oh, I spent Bitcoin to buy pizza at this pizza place.
Yeah.
And then now it's so valuable that you need a bank to spend it, because you're not spending your Bitcoin at your local Target.
You have
to turn it into dollars at a bank.
Well, also the transfer fees are so expensive. It's
totally.
like $10 to pay
I'm
for
not saying
anything.
it's perfect.
But it's a good foundational system for like backgrounds.
And at the same time, right? There's lots of, I would say, conspiracy theories of who's in charge and who runs what, right? And what does money have, and what did the bank have controls of people. But the day that the banks, the global banking system creates a digital banking currency to then use in place of what they had as cash or fiat currency, is the day we're all completely fucked. Because at the moment, Bitcoin is still something that can be loosely traded amongst people and not have a governmental influence over its exchange, right? Maybe more closer because it can be followed or tracked. But cash at the moment is something so free and unregulated, like untraceable, right? That's a good thing, I think, because the day that the government gets involved with controlling the money and where you're spending money, we're just living in a world where they have tokens. We're not living in a world where we get to trade gold on our own ideas of it. We're living in a world where the government decides which tokens are acceptable where and where they're not.
I think you're talking about the fear of for the example, just because it's hard to talk about it on an international scale, but in America, the end of cash
Right.
and only digital
Yeah.
dollars and via credit cards. That is scary to a lot of people, and I
It
think
should be.
and
Because-
therefore
It
it won't happen anytime soon.
It's because you can get locked out of your bank accounts.
Yeah,
Like that happened to
exactly.
people in Canada who are like,
China.
protesting.
China.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, so being able to be locked out of your money is one big problem. A lesser problem we have is your money can be inflated, like that. By not having a gold standard, your money can be inflated.
Yeah, it loses its complete value, right?
Well, it's manipulatable in a way that you don't have control over.
But you know what the reality is that the dollar is already manipulated until people don't know its value and its uncontrollability.
I mean, yeah,
They print.
I'm saying we currently have that problem.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a reason that all of when you say currency, they're all governmental currencies.
No. At the moment,
Well,
right?
you're
At the
gonna
moment,
say Bitcoin, but
no.
I'm
At the
saying-
moment, right? I have $1 here, right? $20, Andrew Jackson on it, and on the
That's
very
an American currency.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. At the very top of it says Federal Reserve Note, right? This means that this money here, it's not owned by my government.
Yeah.
It's owned by the Federal Reserve. So any money that I'm earning at the moment or I'm spending doesn't belong to the United States of America. It belongs to this fucking institution that control everything.
Federal Reserve isn't a government entity. It's an extra governmental entity that the government then can appoint board members to, or like they appoint the chairman of, but it's like not as part of the government as you'd think it would be. As an interesting aside, you're like listing off different monies. Back in England, I think, like hundreds of years ago, there was money sticks were created as like there wasn't a way, there like wasn't enough gold in the country to function. Like there, as I was saying before, like the economy can become illiquid. There's not enough free capital floating around to like slosh around to go to places. They didn't have enough money, right? So
When was this?
they made up money. I think like 14th century or something.
Okay, way back.
And what they did was they had a stick and they like just put like random hash marks in it and then cut it in half, and like one half of it went into the vault in the king's kingdom, and then the other one was sent out and is like, this is a loan. You can pay taxes with this. Like it had value because you could pay taxes with it. So then it just like was this thing that had kind of this inherent value that was just sort of made out of nowhere, but then could be traded around. You could like trade it for whatever else you wanted. But when it came time to pay your taxes, like you better have one of these to pay taxes with. I don't know. I thought that was an interesting, like
It was called a cash stick.
a money
stick.
stick, I think.
I do like to think about the. I don't know if it comes with a motive into our debate about the current state of the system, but I often do find myself thinking about like the creation of money, and then the simplest example I could think of is like a Roman market, and I sell pigs, and I come down to the market with my 2 pigs, and I want ceramics, so I have to barter trade with the guy who makes ceramics for pigs, but that doesn't always work out well, and maybe I have too many pigs for the amount of ceramics or like one pig is more valuable.
Money,
so then they make a coin, and then I can trade with easier
for
with
all
people
of,
at the market.
For
and
all
so
of
on
the
and so
evil
forth.
that we blame money for, it also like let civilization happen. Like I don't think we could have civilization without the like intermediary medium of exchange.
Yeah.
And like it's like a reserve of effort and time, and like
But-
it's super helpful. It's much better than it is evil,
And
but
I-
it has weak points.
I totally agree, right? And sorry, you want?
Well, in a similar way to that example, like the creation of currency and its usefulness, there is a similar example for a lot of the more, what we would say, complex financial institutions that we think of. And that, like, just sort of extrapolating on that example of a market with bartering goods versus currency for goods, it's like the ability to immediately be able to suck money from this location to another location where it's needed very quickly with no fear, no haggling about it. That's what certain elements of what we're dealing with were created for, I think. Like World War II, that's where a lot of this like stuff came out at the end of World War II. Like the bonds, the government bonds were created for the war effort, and so on and so forth. And the stock market, I don't know how the stock market was founded, but
the stock market, I think, was Dutch.
The
stock market is older than what we know now as the global banking system. But I totally agree that there needed to be a different barter than trade or items, because if you've only got carrots to sell, you can't get all your fucking things, right? You can't buy all your stuff, right? Because especially if you want to buy something, but the person that is selling it doesn't need any carrots, right? Then you're fucked, right? Then you have to, and money is a good vehicle, but money existed before what we know now as the global banking system. Like the Americans revolted against the Brits for taxation, right? Of goods, and money and gold, right? There was all that taxation and that overarching body that sort of was controlling you, right? And that's why the Americans revolted. And sure, wasn't it great, right? It was fucking amazing. Those men that fucking, the founding fathers, men and women, the founding fathers that sat down and came together with the American Revolution and shit, legends, because what they wrote, the document, the Declaration of Independence, right? They left an article in there to say, we're great lads, we know a load of stuff, but we don't know it all, and we're allowing these amendments to be made, right? That's part of it.
Constitution,
to have amendments to be made, right? That gets passed by your voted electives. And at the table, whenever they were all talking, the founding fathers, there was the bankers, the farmers, the industrialists, there was everybody sitting there. And there was a table of bankers that were wanting America in 17 whatever to immediately jump into allowing the banks to sell them bonds to make money. Essentially the world that we live in today. They wanted that to be part of the new America. I don't know if you know this or
Hamilton was a big bank guy, and then
he was against it, and so was
Hamilton was for it, and then Burr was
this guy was totally against it.
No, that's Jackson.
Sorry,
Jackson killed off the banks later. Hamilton was like an OG bank guy, though. Alexander Hamilton.
But they were still not giving the banks the opportunity to take the power of the people and give it to the banks. But that all changed in 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act.
Yeah.
And
dark horse candidate Woodrow Wilson.
Right?
Yeah.
And after then, since then, it doesn't. All of the banks and the operations run through the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, right? It's not Treasury anymore. But it is still the Treasury that prints all.
I think it's essentially because the selling point is, do you want to just get all the things done that what you have now, and do you want to be able to do all the things now with the gold you have, or do you want to have the opportunity for us to lend you more, and you can do even more? And I do think that civilization has really rocketed from that point to be able to lend money.
So I was thinking about this recently because I was watching a video about like 6 periods in history where there's been like crashes because the debt has exceeded the GDP by like 250%, and right now we're at like 350%, which is not ideal. So, quickly unrelated or related-ish. A lot of this happens because of fractional reserve banking.
Yeah.
Where because you're not purely dealing with, like, say, gold, like whatever the base form of exchange is. Instead, it's like, all right, someone's going to steal your gold. I'm going to put it in a vault, and I'm going to give you this IOU. So, like, our money used to be IOUs for gold in a vault. It was like you could exchange it, they give you gold. Even with that, you can do funny practices of fractional reserve banking where it's like, I'm going to give out a lot more notes than I actually have money reserved. And like, it's totally fine until everyone comes and wants their money back. And I think that creates these periods where a lot more money is flowing around. It like seems like everyone's like, oh, this is good. And like, there's made up wealth, essentially. It's like you think you have more money in the bank than you actually do. And like someone else also thinks they have more money in the bank. So everyone's working hard because they're like, I'm saving up money. Like I've got plenty of leeway for all this stuff. And like the entity as a whole starts making a lot of progress, right? But then we like hit a depression where like some cascade happens where everyone's like, oh wait, I need money. I'm going to pull it out, and like suddenly you realize that the money you thought you had saved up doesn't actually exist because the fractional reserve banking created this artificial over, not scarcity.
Bubble.
Over surplus. The funny thing to me though is like depressions are so weird because it's like, oh, we're all out of work and we can't do anything. It's like we were all making a whole bunch of stuff before anyway. We have the same amount of stuff. We have the same amount of people.
Yeah, but it's a cycle.
It's like this weird.
It's the consumer. It's all about the consumer.
But it's this weird like motivation bubble where it's like someone had $1 billion of wealth, and like what did they actually do? It's like they went on a boat, had some bottles of wine, ate some fancy fish. Like they didn't really need that much to like feel wealthy, right? Like when you're super wealthy, you're only consuming like this tiny fraction of.
You only need one car.
You're not consuming all your wealth in one banquet, right? And in a weird way, it's like, to me, it's like there should be a way to get out of depressions faster, or just like skip over them. But also, like, they kind of happen because people are demoralized because it's like, I don't actually have any money anymore than I thought I did. It's like
the consumer's gone.
It's this promised lie gets built up and then it's taken away. And
I think promised lie is the base of capitalism.
Kind of, but it does also produce a lot of stuff.
Totally.
It's like, it's a little overhyped at times, but it is still effective. So I don't know. I was thinking about this of like, how do we get out of this situation? Because we are in one of these bad historical comparison points. And it's like, maybe we're just gonna have to hit the singularity type runaway event where it's like we're about to start producing such an unfathomable amount of value that like just chill for a second and like
singularity style.
Yeah, and like maybe if we can invest in like, I don't know, my thought is like if there's a currency that instead of the IOU being gold, the IOU is wishes from the genie.
I was kind of thinking about how you're saying, the currency used to mean gold. And then I was thinking, well, we used to think gold was valuable. And like the modern person, I mean, you give them like a brick of gold.
Partially it's just like, who do you give it to? Who do you trade it for?
That brick of gold is like novel in its coolness, and also its value is only in its dollar value. So it's like we don't have a need for gold.
Kind of, but also if you look at its dollar value, it does keep going up over time compared to the dollar.
But I'm just going like the fakeness of money, sort of from a ground level.
That's almost why gold was such a good medium for exchange. Was it didn't go bad, and it was
a mineral,
and it was kind of useless. Like it couldn't really be used for anything but trading.
But that's the exact.
And it's shiny.
And it's
shiny.
shiny.
It looks
And pirates
good.
like
Yeah.
it.
And you can like work it into
that's
stuff.
and it's
I'm
malleable,
so
right?
pirate.
You can work it into coins.
It's valuable because
but,
it's
but
valuable.
that's the exact point of it, right?
Can I?
It is
take
not
us-
important, right? Because if you are starving and you need food, a bag of rice is more valuable than a bag of gold. And we have then now been...
Unless you could take that bag of gold and buy,
sell it. You
Two
can
bags
buy
of
two,
rice.
yeah.
buy hookers with it.
And eat them.
It's that, and that brings us back to, on the market, right? If you are starving, the bag of carrots that you're looking to sell is more valuable than the bag of gold. But it's because we've come into this.
Invest in carrots.
Yeah,
Then.
yeah.
And hope
You
for
silly idiot.
starvation.
Buy stocks and carrots. It's our human evolution, right, to be more than just this village-centric folk that only deal with our village and the neighboring village, to have these huge possibilities of trade where food and wood isn't valuable, where you need or isn't effective, where you need this external trading method, right? But there needs to be a fine line. There needs to be a fine line.
Before I gave us the example of the early Roman market and the foundation
Yes,
of currency in our society, now give me the space to talk about the formation of the first bank in Rome. Everyone has their new coins from the market. The pig farmer and the ceramicist and the lawyer. I don't know if there's law. Anyway, to people who produce and sell different things. Now they have all their coins at home from selling all their things to other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of them. I'm the pig farmer, and my barn burns down in a fire. Now, two things are happening all at once. We're scared that robbers are going to take our coins from our homes, like hold swords to our throats and take our coins from us. And also, when my barn burns down, I now have to go to all my, if I have friends, and ask them, please, can I have a bunch of coins, because I can't afford to build a barn right now. So that's the formation of the bank. The bank is a security vessel, as we know from the Wild West of America. It's that security vessel, but it's also, if everyone gives us all your money to keep safe, then we have enough money to loan it out to people who need all the more money at once for certain things.
That's called an insurance company now.
Yes. Well, yes. Now, the insurance company has that particular rebuild your home portion of what
it was once the bank, yeah.
Yeah. So just another parable of how we get more and more complex financial systems.
Yeah, and then like
that serve a good purpose.
Yes.
And then are perpetuated mostly by capitalism into a spiraling
it's more just
complication.
As you get a more complicated system, there becomes more avenues for exploitation, and if it's a confusing enough system, it becomes very obfuscated how you're exploiting it. So there's a lot of ways to like hack the system and cheat
Ding, 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 we got a winner. This system is so complex that we cannot regulate it. It's so complex and confusing. It'll make little John Doe and little Jane Doe their head will just spin. They'll not even know. We'll keep this system unregulated for the benefit of the people.
This is the free hand of the market.
Ay, come on.
It knows all.
It's gonna slap you around a little.
Do you not think that there needs to be a fucking accountability sort of regulatory thing? Because I tell you, these cunts are not worried about, or are very worried about regulation.
Our problem is people don't get punished when they really fuck up. In malicious ways, not accidental ways, but purposely malicious ways.
Totally.
Probably worth noting the recent dive into sports gambling in this country. as a
a
microcosm
unrelated,
of a financial situation that is unregulated.
Yeah. I think gambling has always been a big thing, but the fact that like in the Premier League, all the big teams have gambling teams, and like that's the biggest sponsor, gambling teams.
There's the boxing fight that just happened. The guy who beat Jake Paul, is like wearing a chain of a gambling company when he won.
Yeah, I think they just suddenly were like, oh, we can make a bunch of money, like advertise the hell out of it.
Yeah.
I'm like a technology revolutionary optimist or something, where it's like there's such entrenched powers to not let the systems change because the people running the systems are making a lot of money off the systems. I do think new technology, if it can move before they can suppress it, is like the most you've got the most shots on goal of possibilities to like usurp power, right? And like Bitcoin partially did that. Like it definitely created a whole nother avenue in the banking system where it's like you could store your money in a bank, or you could store your money with like a weird digital gold that has done exceptionally well.
Have you heard of the conspiracy theory that Bitcoin was started by the CIA?
Maybe, but mostly like to track drug carteling, because people like thought that it was untraceable, but it's like super traceable.
Yeah, like they credit this guy of creating Bitcoin.
I think I know who it was. There's like
It's like Yoshimoto Nakoda.
Well, there's Satoshi's.
Satoshi Nakamoto, right? Or what was it?
Yeah, something like that.
Might not be Satoshi, because that's
but
Satoshi coin. But
I thought his name was Bit.
Bill coin. So I actually there's like a decent amount of evidence that seemed pretty solid to me that there's a guy in the Bitcoin Foundation who, like, previous to Bitcoin coming out, was working on like a cryptocurrency concept. Like, I really do think this guy could be the guy who created Bitcoin.
But he took an alias or something to.
Yeah. I forget his name.
Because the
Sniper bullet comes through the window and strikes Dash.
but and both of us, right? Yeah. And the cat's just like.
It was cat.
Snacks for days.
No, but the name that's associated to it, it's not with me right now. But it's like the first two letters of like Motorola and Toshiba and Yamaha.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like all the letters just add up, right? That it's this
just made
created alias that gives us this.
Satoshi, I'm pretty confident it's just a made up name.
Yeah, but I think because it was so funny whenever it came out, right? Do you remember if Bitcoin came out?
I remember hearing about it when it was $21 and being like, I'm gonna wait for it to go down a little.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think I remember. I probably saw the same tabloids about it that everyone else did about when it was first coming out, and it was a joke. But yeah,
You know, for me to put my 2 cents down to the maybe closure of this conversation is that I don't think our requirement to have money in our world needs to live in the fear of a certain board member group of companies. And through technology and digitalization, we can be free of an overarching, potentially bad influence on what we know as money.
So I have a solution. In closing, I also have a potential theory of a solution, at least at a small community level, imagine if a non-profit for the betterment of the world type organization possessed the exact technology of the Venmo application.
Right.
And that there was no surveillance. Well, like, and then there was also the ability to pool an IOU money on this Venmo application, but it dealt with real money. So, like, you're really sending dollars to a bank account the same way Venmo does.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, Venmo is almost the thing. But now we know it's sort of watched by the government, right? And so,
but you just want to replace Venmo in that instance. You don't actually, because Venmo is just a vehicle. Venmo is just a vehicle.
Hold on. The problem with your idea is you're tracking actual dollars, which can be
Venmo
inflated.
is no money.
It can be inflated.
Venmo never
by,
made any money or never had any.
Well,
money.
no, it's more that you're pegged to the U.S. dollar, which is inflationary. Otherwise, you're just talking about a cryptocurrency.
What if Venmo was my bank? And I wasn't scared that it was a company named Venmo.
And they used Bitcoin as their stable. Totally, I'm with you.
What if my paycheck went straight to Venmo and I could pay you guys and I could pay the bar with Venmo and
I think you're just arguing for better banking.
It's close to a credit card, but the credit card charges me interest on when I don't afford what I'm spending on it.
Yeah, no, but I think what you're talking about is a better transactional method.
Yeah.
But the input is always dollars. It's still going back to these cunts.
I think that's what it's gonna be while we live in.
No, it's not. It doesn't have to be, right? And I do think though my secondary closing method is that, like, we're afraid to talk of an alternative of the global banking system. Like, why are we as humans with free speech living in a free country not availed of talking of an alternative than the global banking system? Am I a criminal to talk about an alternative?
How often do I need to spend something that is not where a dollar can be spent? Very little. It's on an extravagant journey to another country. I don't buy very many things from other countries. Don't talk about imports and sourcing and stuff, but like,
it'd be the exact same. You'd have a card where you take money out of.
But I don't need a free global currency. That's what I'm saying. As an average American, I just need to be able to trade money with my fellow countrymen, for the most part. I understand
it's the exact same thing.
That those products that I'm buying are eventually sourced from another country.
It's the exact same thing of whether you're trading with somebody that lives in Otsego County or someone that lives in fucking California or someone that lives in Vietnam. It's the same thing. You don't need to have somebody else that is controlling this.
Yeah.
We could just do it between ourselves. I could just sell from me to you rather than having these cunts print this shit.
So my closing take is there are a lot of these like levers of power that let this money be manipulatable, and the methods for rectifying that are, incredibly difficult and or violent and or infeasible and impossible.
Violent, I like that one.
But I think money is about to be obsolete. So
why is it going to be obsolete?
Because
singularity.
Would you rather have a wish from a genie or $1 million?
I'd take both.
You only get one. Which one?
Okay, I'll take the wish from a genie.
There you go.
But I would just be wishing for more money than $1 million.
I mean, what would you do with the $1 million?
Okay, I wish for all the material things that I would buy with.
Yeah,
No, if somebody said, "Do you want to wish? Do you want $1 million or wish for a genie?" I'd be like, "Easy. I'll have a wish from a genie. I'll have $1 billion."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is the $1 billion is transferable into more wishes, basically, material, purchasable wishes.
I guess the actual functional way I see this happening is the AI has a certain amount of time and can produce a certain amount of value in that amount of time, and a wish is an allotment of its time efforted towards your goal, and you make a wish of, if you want to billion, it goes, I don't even know what you want out of that. But you could be like, I want $1 billion of gold, right? And it'll be like, okay, that is going to take me 47 years, but I can do that.
Do you think that... that's too long.
And is that going to be available for every Tom, Dick, and Harry?
That's
what I was
the
thinking
structuring.
Or you need to buy. You need to fucking buy into this, like, you know.
Probably have to invest in, but also there should be a UBI.
So what you're telling me
system.
is that the rich are going to keep getting richer, and the poor are going to keep getting poor.
No, the rich are going to get richer, and then the poor are also going to get richer.
But how many?
That's what
ideal.
they always say.
Well, might be different this time.
That's what they always say.
Yeah.